everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Ask the Expert. I am so excited to be here with you with my co-host, Teresa Ream, and we're looking forward to sharing today's expert with you. And we encourage you to make sure that you connect with her, with Teresa and I, if you're not already connected to us, and make sure to connect with our sponsor, the Professional Women's Network of Monterey. You can find out more about them at www.pwnmonterey.org. And one of the things that we really love here at Ask the Expert is that we invite our guests to really share the value and the expertise with our audience. And so what we want to ask our audience is to kind of be open-minded to some of the things that our guests may share, and to think of what's one, two, or maybe three ways that you can implement what they share, or maybe shift maybe your mindset in a way that you hadn't thought of before, right? So Teresa, let's get this started. And when you share with our audience a little bit about our guest.
Yes, excited to do so, Patty. Thank you. Today, we will be talking with Pamela Plick, and we will be discussing the purpose-driven wealth management. Pamela is on a mission to empower purpose-driven women to confidently build wealth from the inside out, providing the education, strategy, and tools to grow financial confidence, security, and freedom. She is the author of Rise to Your Money Power, a step-by-step guide for building the foundation of an empowered relationship with money. Pamela is a certified financial planner, practitioner, certified money coach, and CEO and founder of Pamela Plick Wealth Management. As a speaker, author, show host, and money mentor, Pamela empowers women to achieve personal and professional success. She does this by helping them merge the spiritual, emotional, and practical aspects of money and overcome feeling stuck, anxious, and overwhelmed related to work, money, and purpose, so they can become more confident, create greater financial balance, and ready to take inspired action toward building financial independence and freedom. So welcome, Pamela. So excited to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be with you both today, too.
I just really loved how when Teresa was sharing with our audience about you, the different ways that you serve. And I love it. I feel like what came up for me there is that you really approach it with like a holistic approach of making sure that we cover all areas. And I love that you're actually a coach for it too, because I know a lot of times, people will have a financial person that they work with. And I think people want to know why, right? They want to be coached because, not everybody knows about this, right? It's kind of something that, maybe you do, but I think a lot of us have had, at least in our age bracket for sure, what were the things that we heard when we were growing up? Money doesn't grow on trees, and, all the different things that we heard. And so we kind of acquired a mindset about how do we feel about money. And I always say sometimes, like, I'm in marketing media money, and I like, sometimes you have to have a money mindset shift, right? You almost have to like reset your DNA when it comes to money. So I really love that we're going to be talking about this today, because money is one of my favorite subjects, because I think it can be a really good thing. And while it may not buy happiness, and we understand that, I'd rather be crying in a BMW than on a bicycle, right? So
it may not buy happiness, but it creates choices.
That's right. I love options.
That's right.
Yes.
I love options. Okay, so let's just jump right in on that. So what would you say, Pamela, is the number one thing that differentiates you from everyone else in your industry?
I believe the number one thing is really my mission, because I merge the three pillars of money. The spiritual, the emotional, as well as the practical side of money. And when we're advising clients, it's important to take a look at all three, right? Because we all know that the importance of living within our means, right? Creating a budget, having, minimal debt, right? Saving. But if you know what you need to do, but you're not doing it, or even if I know that I'm going to give advice to a client and they're not going to follow it, then that means there's something in the other two areas that need to be addressed. And so that's why I believe it's so important to address all three. So, all three pillars of money.
It's really important too, because anybody who would ever say that money isn't emotional doesn't get it, because there's a lot of emotion around money, right? Lack of, or even in excess of, right? If you have a lot of money, there's a lot of emotional stuff about that. Am I serving enough? Like when you buy expensive things, should you feel guilty? Like there's a lot of things. And if you don't have money, you have to kind of balance that too, as someone who has kind of been on both sides of that spectrum, right? I think there's a lot of things there. So I love that you're really talking about the emotional part of that as well. So I think that is really great.
Yeah, well, thank you. And, I've had clients that cry in my office, about money, and fear, because fear was coming up. But it's so important to understand that, because the emotions, are what drive our decisions, right? And we have those thoughts, right? And there's statistics that show over 95% of the thoughts we have on a daily basis are unconscious thoughts. And that includes our beliefs, those beliefs that keep showing up in our head. And we have to have a way to overcome those thoughts, especially the limiting beliefs, the limiting thoughts, so that we can move forward. And I just believe that is so important. This is the reason that I do the work the way that I do, because I started out, in the traditional financial planning or traditional money industry. And I really wanted a way to bring more spirituality into my practice. And really address all three of the pillars. And that's why I became a certified money coach, to be able to bring that in.
I love the spiritual side of it, because that's the way that I always ran my money thoughts. And it kind of began in church. We were broke. I was trying to pay the bills and the company. I was dying. It was killing me. And here comes a basket to put money in. And I heard this thing, just trust me. And I wrote out a check, and I come home, and stuck in my door by just a little corner was a check for $10,000 from a customer I've been trying to collect from. It was a windy day. I don't know why it didn't fly down the street.
Wow.
Stuck in the door by a little teeny corner. And then I thought, okay, this is a spiritual aspect of it. And that's how I lived for the next 25 years.
I believe that with my whole heart. Like really, honestly, if you just have to kind of trust, right? So, I totally believe that. So Pamela, I really kind of want to talk about who your ideal clients are. I think that is really important. But when you just said something about the limiting beliefs and some of that, I think some of that's like this story we have, like this going around in a loop, like, kind of this story that we tend to tell ourselves. So before you tell us who your ideal clients are, I just have to ask this question. Would you say that when you're thinking about that talk that we have going around in our head and those limiting beliefs, would you say that women tend to have them more than men?
Oh.
Yes, probably yes. And I'm saying that because of, traditionally how women are raised. We're not, a lot of women are not as confident, as men, even though we're just as competent, but, outwardly we're not as confident. So I would say a lot of times, yes. And, one of the ways that I give back is I do provide training for aspiring women entrepreneurs. And I always ask the question, these are women that haven't started a business yet, or they're in the process of starting the business. And I asked them, I said, who feels they're not here, that they're not good with money? And so many hands go up, and one of the things that also comes to mind is in terms of asking for what you're worth. Men don't have a problem asking for what they're worth. right? Or raising their prices. You don't hear men say, well, maybe I shouldn't raise my prices because I might lose clients. I
I
hear that
totally
from
get
women.
that.
I hear that from women.
Oh,
Yes.
I hear that all the time. I mean, I'm in marketing and I specialize as women, and that is something I hear over and over and over again. I think that sometimes too, where we're at right now is that a lot of women weren't raised really understanding money because they had a mom, right, who pretty much let the husband do all the money stuff, right? Like in my family, my husband doesn't know nothing. He just gets paid, it's direct deposited, and I handle everything. I think he wouldn't even know how to look up how
Mine
much
too.
money we have in the bank. But he does all of our stock stuff, but as far as money, he doesn't. But with that said, though, I think a lot of times when I talk to women, when they come to me, they're like, they just don't really know a lot about handling money because they were raised by parents where back in the day that was like what the men did, right? But now, I mean, we have more women running companies and making financial decisions than we ever have before, right? So I think that is a shift that is also happening in the marketing place. So would you say, tell us a little bit about who your demographic and who your ideal clients are? And when I say ideal clients, we tend to attract people who want to work with us, right? But then we always have those ones that like bring us the most joy, right? Like you get excited when you look in your calendar and you're going to work with them. So tell us who those are too, because you never know, somebody could be listening. They may know just the exact person to introduce you to.
Yes, actually, I have two demographics that I work with, or two types of clients, but primarily it's purpose-driven women entrepreneurs. I love working with women who are on a mission, women who know that they're here, they're called to provide a higher, for a higher purpose, and it's through their work. They want to make the world a better place through their work. They believe in giving back. Women's philanthropy is also a passion of mine as well. And so that's who typically I work with on the entrepreneurial side. I also work with professional women who are in corporate America or successful, in their careers. But they also want to empower their relationship with money. And I want to mention too that a lot of successful women, very successful women, we're great at our businesses. We're experts. We know how to run our businesses, but we need to do a better job on the personal side. And I truly believe that our personal relationship with money directly impacts how successful we are, not only in our personal lives, but also in our professional lives. And I also want to mention, I want to kind of go back to what Teresa said about spirituality, if that's okay.
Sure.
Our money beliefs are imprinted upon us as children, and typically they come from either the authority figures. Usually it's our parents. It can also be religious, our religious beliefs, as well as cultural beliefs. And one of the exercises that I do with my clients is I have them recall their first memory of money and how it felt. Was it a good memory? Was it a not so positive memory? And how was that showing up in your life today? And it's amazing how those beliefs, was money talked about in your household? What was said about money? You mentioned money doesn't grow on trees, right? That was a big one that my dad used to say all the time. But yes, how was money talked about? Was there a feeling of prosperity? Was there a feeling of lack? And we don't realize that those beliefs are imprinted upon us and they show up in how we manage our finances. But the good news is it's cultural. It's not yours. I mean, not cultural, but it's generational. And so you can change those beliefs. It's like you said, especially if they're no longer serving you, you can change the beliefs so that
I really
you can
love
prosper.
that. I love that. And a couple things that you said, I want to touch on a few things. You said some really good stuff that I want to unpack. One of them that I think that I really love that you said when you were talking about going from where women like with money and then in the personal. Because one of the things that I have really found with Teresa, so I'm gonna talk about Teresa for a second. So Teresa, like here she has these businesses, you know, for 40 years and you know, she has and a generational business as well, right? And she's done that, but yes, she chooses to be a business mentor and a coach for women as well. And one of the things when I have conversations with Teresa is where she will tell me that people in their personal, like here's where they are in their personal, and then they don't even know how to tell the difference between profit and revenue, or like how to read a P&L and stuff. And so, you know, Teresa's kind of on that mission herself, like kind of almost like the opposite of that, of how to work with them. And when Teresa has shared with me, and totally jump in here, Teresa, right? You know, I have just found that amazing that one could be one without being the other. Although in my own life, I do remember that as well. Like my earliest time was when my parents said, you know, Patty, if you could just be quiet, we'll give you $5 if you could be quiet for 30 minutes. And I never, ever got the $5. But then the other thing that I learned early on too, was I remember when I was in junior high and there were 5 of us and we had to wear hand-me-downs. And I remember going to my mom and saying, if I funded my own clothes budget, like, can I buy my own clothes for school if I fund it myself? And she said, yeah. And I took on all kinds of jobs and stuff. And I was kind of like the best dressed kid in school, but all my brothers and sisters, they still actually kind of still wore hand-me-downs, but I didn't. But I'm the only entrepreneur in my family too. So with that said, but actually Teresa, like, don't you say too, like based on what she's saying, that is something you see all the time with the people you work with, right?
Yes, they don't really think they can get in there and dig and set up their systems and really look at things. And they don't know how simple it is to really read a balance sheet or a profit and loss. It's one of a pretty simplistic thing, and they make it bigger than it is. I know when I first started in the business, you know, the first couple of years we had a partner, and he didn't do much, so we bought him out. But when I came aboard full time, they put me out in the field to demo walls and sheetrock. And I was thinking, this isn't working for me. I don't like this. I got to make myself valuable. So the first thing I went and I took financial classes and courses, and I took over the money, because whoever runs the money runs the business.
It has the power.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
makes the decisions. And that's
No,
what
that's
women need
fabulous.
to grab a hold of.
No, I think that's really important. So like, see how in like all 3 of us, the difference in how we have had different experiences. And I see that all the time. So Pamela, back to your ideal clients. Like that was kind of, we took a little meandering little thing that we
I
did
love
there
that.
and stuff though. And I love that, but back to you.
Well, I just, I love women that, and I usually attract women that are, obviously they understand the importance of investing in themselves. And they, I mentioned they're philanthropic, they give to causes that they're passionate about. They may be in transition. One client that that recently graduated from my program, and I absolutely loved working with her. She really wanted to transition. She's in a corporate job, wanting to transition to her next phase within 2 years, but she didn't see how she could do it, based on, she had a lot of fear around money, because personally she was taking on more debt. Like she'd pay it off, accumulate more, pay it off, and it was just that cycle. But what we looked at was, what were the limiting beliefs that she had? How could she overcome those beliefs? And really putting a money power strategy and action plan in place to help her get to her next phase. And the next phase was actually to leave corporate America and start her own business, and actually move to another country, but start her own business. And I see that a lot with women that, women entrepreneurs that, again, I focus on the personal relationship with money, but like I said earlier, the personal relationship directly impacts both your business as well as the personal side. And I see where women entrepreneurs are holding themselves back, because of their personal beliefs about money. And when you don't have a good relationship with money, then it steals your willingness to take those risks, the informed risk, to step out in a bigger, bolder way. And really because that's really what it's all about for me, for what I know is when we take the fear out of building financial freedom, then we can bring our gifts into the world in a bigger, bolder way. And I want to just share a quote that I absolutely love. It's a quote.
Oh, I'm all about quotes.
The Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama said, "The Western woman will save the world." Now, it may not just be the Western woman, but I believe women will. And in order to do that, we need to take away the biggest objection that I hear is related to money. So
Absolutely.
I love that. I just love that quote.
Oh, I do too. I've actually said it many times. I really, really believe it with all my heart. So I think that is phenomenal. So I think it's important to know what not to do as much as it is what to do. And I also believe that it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There are always some myths out there, what people believe, that when you hear about them, you're like, who told you that? That's so not true, right? I know in marketing there are, I'm sure, in business all the time, right? But I am really sure that when it comes to what you do, you probably hear like all kinds of them, that people come into the office with all the kind of the different things that they believe, whether they've been told, grew up with, thought of them themselves, whatever the case may be. But what are some of the myths or mistakes that when you talk to people that you see that they're kind of carrying around with them?
One of the mistakes, or not, I don't want to say mistakes, I want to say limiting beliefs, is that that I'm not good with money. That I hear that a lot, and the truth is that anyone can be good with money, right? You just need that guidance, that education, in order to show you a path to get to where you want to be. I mentioned one earlier about not being able to, I'm not sure if I can make money doing what I love. And I hear that from women entrepreneurs. The other thing is, and related to financial planning, because I do have two sides to my practice. I have the one side for, I do provide comprehensive financial planning to clients. And I'm very passionate about that. And what I found was a lot of women weren't ready to take that inspired step to create the financial plan, because there was something they needed to heal or work on with their relationship with money. And that's why I became a certified money coach, to be able to help help women that weren't ready, to get them ready, overcome those limiting beliefs, understand where they came from, how to shift them, and then create an action plan to get them to where they want to be.
I absolutely love this so much.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
I love the action plan.
Yes,
Oh.
absolutely. Because learning things are great, but really
learning how to implement
what you
things
implement.
is better.
Yes, it's all about what you implement. So one of the things that I heard, related to financial planning is financial planning is only for the ultra wealthy. And that is just simply not true. Everyone deserves competent and ethical advice. Everyone should have a financial plan, right? To create, even if it's about leaving a legacy. We talked about generation wealth, and a lot of women have the vision of creating a legacy, so it's important to be able to do that. And everyone should have, they may not need a comprehensive financial plan, but they do need competent and ethical advice. And so
Oh,
that's one of the big ones that I hear.
Very true.
and I love that both sides, they're kind of like really kind of help balance. So I think that's really wonderful, because sometimes somebody can do one, but they don't do the other. And I think the fact that you offer both really kind of works really, really well, because I do think that sometimes people don't really understand, or they have a preconceived idea of what that would be. And you're right, they probably do have to heal some stuff. Or maybe it isn't even that they have a trauma or they have to heal it, but they just might have to shift it a little bit.
Right.
And I
shift.
think that's
Mhm.
important. And I also think that sometimes when people get married, like when people get married, I mean, we could have a whole show on this, I'm sure. So I just kind of won't go too deep here. But I mean, I know a lot of times people get married, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I married my husband, how we both thought of money was like totally different. I
Mhm.
mean, I remember when we went on our first vacation, my husband thought we were gonna, stay at like a Motel 6. And I was like, are you out of your mind? Do you not know who you married? And stuff. And so I remember we were married like a couple years, and my husband's like, I really like the way we live now, right? Because that's just how he was raised, right? Now, the funny thing is, it is also how I was raised too. The difference is he kind of, because he was raised, he had this limiting belief, because that's how I was raised. I said, no, like, that's not how it's going to be for me. Right. And so I just kind of had a different attitude really about it. And I truly believe that when you do well, you can do good. Right. So I didn't have any guilt around that or any of that stuff. But I do know is a lot of that. But I do have to say, couples, I'm sure that they have a lot of different things that go on. So when you're doing your money coaching, do you ever sometimes get like couples that come in and you have to work with them on that? Because that seems like that would be a big thing.
In my money coaching, I focus on women.
Okay.
But on the financial planning side, yes, I work with couples. And it's interesting because I want to mention, we talked about, there are actually 8 money archetypes.
Yeah.
And, ideally, there's 3 that are ideal money archetypes. And I want to mention that, Patty, when you mentioned about going out and getting a job, early in life, that was your warrior, your inner warrior archetype showing up. And I love that, because a lot of times we, depending on how women were raised, it may be like there's a victim, there's a martyr archetype, tyrant, so there's lots of things that are modeled for us, but it's great that you embraced your warrior earlier.
Oh, that is.
Earlier
We are
in
so
life.
much alike, Patty. I remember I
are.
just
Yep.
started earning money, and my big sister was like, "Why do you always have money?" She goes, "You're gonna have money the rest of your life. I can just tell. You bring it to you." And I'm like, I don't know.
But then it's the way you think it, and like money kind of, does money. Because like, not only that, you'll think this is funny, but once I started funding my own clothes shopping and stuff, all of a sudden when I was babysitting, I thought to myself, like, now, because I'm in marketing and sales, I think it's funny, right? I think it's kind of funny how you do full circle. But I remember thinking, well, I'm already at their house babysitting their kids. And I remember going to them and saying, for an extra 50 cents an hour, like, I'll help them with their homework, and if you pay me another 50 cents an hour, I'll cook them dinner. And
Oh,
for 50 cents, so I was upselling even when I was like a kid.
Yeah.
I just didn't know better, but I was like, well, what other problems do they have that I can solve?
Yes.
I've always been a fixer.
But
I was
isn't
the
it
same way.
interesting? But isn't it interesting, Patty, that you embraced that, but your siblings didn't?
No.
So it's interesting when and usually, and when we grow up, we usually model one of our parents, like maybe one was, one of the archetypes is innocent, like the ostrich with the head in the sand, and the other one might be the warrior in the family. So usually children grow up and model one or the other. But I also want to mention, in relationship to couples, it is so important. I do typically, when I work with clients, the clients that I attract, usually the woman is the CFO of the family, but I tell my male clients, the husband, just as well as I would tell the wife, you know, you need to be engaged as well. There's always one person that handles the day-to-day finances, but it's so important that couples be on the same page, you know, with their finances, and everyone needs to be informed.
That's a tough one.
I
It
know,
certainly is.
Oh my
you
God.
know,
I want to go back
even,
to
sure.
the young entrepreneurs, because I love young entrepreneur stories like Patty just shared. And I didn't know, one day my parents were looking all over for me. I was 9, and they're looking all over for me and they couldn't find me and they were panicking. And here I come in, and they used to call it a beauty parlor back in those days. And I walked over to the beauty parlor and I had all the treatments because I had money, because I worked and I did things.
At 9.
And I came back with my haircut and my nails done. And they're like, where you been? I've been at the beauty parlor.
And
So
that set
money
the
is
stage
freedom.
for everything that came after that, right?
That is so awesome. And look where
I
you
think
are
that's so
today.
funny.
Isn't that beautiful? That is just
I
wonderful.
absolutely really loved it. I got to tell you, this is so far one of my favorite. I'm loving this, because I feel like we could just tell story after story after story, because we know that we have them, right? We all do. So I have to say, so what do you love, as if we all couldn't guess right now, right? What do you love about your business, Pamela? Like, what's the thing that really lights you up about your business, and what's next?
What really lights me up is that I have the ability to work with the type of clients that I love, that I'm doing the work that I'm called to do. And it just excites me so much when I get feedback from my clients, you know, that have gone through my program. Like the other weekend, I got an email from a client who graduated from my program about a year ago. You know, we prepared a comprehensive strategy and action plan. She sent me this long email telling me all the things that she accomplished last year and what's going on now. And she was so excited. And this is the client that had a lot of fear, the one that wanted to transition to her next phase in 2 years. And she said she is on track, and that she was so grateful. You know, because like I said earlier, I think that's really what sets me apart, is my approach to money. I've heard a lot of women say that. I've never heard money talked about in that way. But it is so, it just makes me excited, because if you take that fear, now they're able to express their unique gifts, you know, into the world. And I love seeing that. And in terms of what's next for me, I offer workshops. This is really, you know, educating women. At heart, I'm a teacher. I love educating. So whenever I can share knowledge and expertise that can help women on their journey, I'm willing to do that. So I offer workshops, you know, monthly workshops. So, you know, if anyone's interested in attending a workshop, you know, they're welcome to do that. So I have a lot of things.
Are
And I
they
have
in
a show.
person, or are they virtually? Because like this Ask the Expert goes out globally. So do you have both?
No, the workshops are virtual.
Oh, good.
Because I do want to serve women globally. So I do have the workshops, you know, they're virtual, they're on Zoom. And monthly I offer, you know, a workshop. And I also have, Teresa mentioned in my bio that I'm a show host. I do have a TV show on the Win-Win Women TV platform. It's called Rise to Your Money Power. And we have honest conversations to empower women around their relationship with money. And that show is on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific. And it is the first half an hour is education, you know, I'm teaching about a topic. And then we turn off the recording. The next half an hour is Q&A and conversation with the women that are in the room. And I love that, to be able to interact and allow women to really have a conversation about money.
Because
And
it is
so,
important, though. People need to
yes.
have a safe place You know, one of the things I do for PWN, I'm the marketing director, and obviously Teresa's the president of PWN. And every month I facilitate the 6-figure think tank. And so
Mm,
it is something I do
Fabulous.
every month, and we never record it. You know, we always want people to know that this is the place where you can have a conversation, and it's a safe environment. What happens at the tank stays in the tank. So I totally get that. I think it's important. It changes the conversation completely, whether the recording's on or the recording's off. It
absolutely,
is like so
sure.
important. So I love that you do that. So what is your website and how people could connect with you?
My website is pamelaplick.com, and I do have I have a gift. There are two gifts for the audience. You know, the first gift is for whoever's watching, if they really want an easy way to understand what their current relationship is with money. I have my money type quiz. It only takes 5 minutes, and it's a life changer.
Is it on your
The-
website?
It is. I'm going to give you the website, yeah, for that. And then the second gift is, for those of you who are watching, if you know that you want to create a mini plan to help you overcome any limiting beliefs or blocks so that you can move forward on your financial journey, then I am offering a Money Power Breakthrough Call. It's a 30-minute breakthrough call, and it's complimentary. And both of those gifts are on my website at pamelaplick.com/thank you. That's pamelaplick.com/thank you. And once you take advantage of the gifts, take a look around. There's some other resources on the page that will empower you to take the next step on your
That
financial journey.
is fabulous. Thank you so much. Now we're going to do the lightning round questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Teresa.
Oh, yes, it's time for the lightning round. And this is where our experts answer questions with brief 15-second short, sweet answers. So let's get to it. Since I love your person and the warmth that you show to your clients and everyone out there, let's do a personal one. What's one thing on your bucket list that you haven't accomplished yet?
To visit Paris.
Ooh, yes.
Good one.
Mine too. And what is your go-to productivity hack?
My go-to productivity hack. I have to say it is my time blocking. I use my Google Calendar. It has all of the different colors and time blocking, and that's been a game changer for me.
Oh, yes, love that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so we make sure that we serve both you and our audience. What question would you like to have been asked that you would like to answer right now?
There's one question you've asked a lot, and I think we've covered a lot, but I want to just quickly talk about some of the surprising ways and unrealized ways that we as women give away our money power. And the one way is that we have someone else take care of our finances. And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's so important. The most empowering thing that you can do is to take ownership for your finances. Not to say that you shouldn't have advisors, trusted advisors, but you really want to be engaged, be a partner in that. So don't blindly turn over your finances to anyone else. Putting others' needs ahead of our own, it's not, there's another quote that I love from Iyanla Vanzant. She says, self-care is not selfish, it's self-full. If you think about I use the analogy of when we're on a plane, right? When they do the safety speech, what do they tell you? If the cabin pressure drops and you're traveling with a minder, you put your mask on first, then you put the mask on the minder. Because, if you don't take care of yourself first, right? We get back to, the spiritual part of it. What's in our spiritual cup is for us. What overflows is for others. And so we have to keep our cup full. right? And then the last thing is procrastination. Procrastinating on financial decisions is the #1 way that we as women give away our money power. And a lot of times, again, it's due to fear of making a mistake. And so we don't know what to do, so we don't do anything. And again, that's easily overcome, right? Through financial education and training, and getting support. So those are the 3 ways that we give away, and hopefully that will inspire, the audience to kind of take a look at, where am I giving away my money power, so that I can take it back.
Oh,
That's
that makes
great.
a lot of sense.
Yes, very inspiring. Well, thank you, Pamela, and for joining Patty and I. It was a great episode, and just really look forward to seeing you in our masterclass that we're together. So
Well,
let's
thank
turn
you.
it back to you, Patty.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pamela. This was fabulous. I mean, absolutely fabulous. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us on Ask the Expert, and we appreciate you sharing your expertise. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us on Ask the Expert. Feel free to reach out to Teresa and I if you have any questions or any suggestions of people you would love to see on the show. We love hearing from our listeners, and we would love to continue the conversation with you as well. So we will see you next week on the next episode of Ask the Expert.